Hello Wolfpack. Nano. Haven't done a video on Nano in about a month and a half, and I've been running the channel for about 3 months, and I've done 2 videos on Nano. So it's one of the coins, and I have a few coins that I like to update regularly, right? So I have coins that I like to just do a video on here and there, but Nano is one of those coins that I like to bring up, at least once every couple of months, just to give you guys an update on it, about what's going on, because I know Nano has a very loyal community, very loyal fan base. And they always get around and support the videos. So I thought I'd, give you another update, let you know what's going on in terms of TA, and let's see how it is, because we have, and I'm not just bullish for no reason on Nano. We have some good fractals going on. We have some good price action going on. It may not look it, right? It may look like it's just going sideways, but once you actually look into the charts, which I will do shortly, you can tell that it's actually going pretty well. I'm naturally bullish on any type of payment coin that is a rival to Bitcoin. I'm naturally bullish on Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, Nano, Digibyte, right? Those are some examples. I like coins like that because I know for a fact that when Bitcoin goes too high and people don't want to buy Bitcoin because it's too high, people will look for Bitcoin alternatives to buy that are similar to Bitcoin, that are further on the ground, and that's when those coins, the Nanos, Digibytes, Litecoins, Bitcoin Cashes, will pump, right? And they'll all pump simultaneously. It happens every cycle. Happened in 2017. For those of them that are around in 2014, it happened in 2014. And I've got no reason to believe why it won't happen again this cycle. So let's see. But I've got no reason to believe it won't. Nano, straight off the bat, we'll get straight into the daily chart, and I want to speak about one very important thing on the daily chart. It is the most important thing. It's actually the reason I'm making this video, to be honest. This fractal here, right? Very clear fractal, right? Very clear fractal, and I'll explain it. It might not look clear by me just circling them, right? But they are very clear, and the reason being, well, let's get into it, all right? So we can see that in January here, we had this region where we were testing this bottom green box and jumping up to the top green box, right? So around here in June and July, we had this region we were testing the green box here and jumping up to the top green box. We moved to the upside here. Tested the red box, right? We tested the red box as well. Dropped back down. All right, and in this drop back down, not only did we hold the green box for support for a brief period of time, but we also jumped down and wicked off the bottom of the lower green box, right? We jumped down, wicked off the bottom of the lower green box, came back up, and we're currently testing that green box again, right? And we currently tested that green box again. All right, so let's remove all of these circles. All right, so I hope that was a good explanation. Remove all of these circles, and what we can see as well is that right now, if this fractal is real, if this fractal takes place, we are currently in this period, right? What happened after that period? We exploded. We went to the moon, right? It's quote unquote went to the moon. Within a few days, we went up from around $6 to around $15, right? I'm not saying that's going to happen again, but what I am saying is that according to that fractal, that is very convincing in my opinion, that should only be a few days away, right? At most a week, right? At most a week away, where we do something like this, right? And then boom, right? And explode to the upside very quickly, right? So what we are looking for is that flip of this green box. And then once that happens, that's even more evidence supporting this fractal, right? This already pretty strong fractal, and then boom, and we should be blasting to the upside. One thing we can note as well, and the similarities between these fractals we can note as well, is that we can look here and see that, we'll look at the MACD in a second, so let's actually delete that. But we can see that another similarity between these two fractals is that when we tested the top of this red resistance box here, we reached an RSI point here of around 80, all right? And when we tested the red resistance box here, we reached a similar RSI point of around 80, right? So not only is the price action and the pattern of the price action matching quite, almost perfectly, right? We're also matching on the RSI, and in terms of what's happening on the RSI there. Even on this drop down, right? We saw a flat line on the RSI, drop down and move upwards, right? We've seen a flat line, a drop down, and move upwards, and we ended off higher than where we started, right? So that's happening as well. And so the next logical move would be a spike, right? We saw sideways and then a spike. So It's certainly a convincing fractal. There's no doubt about that in my mind. If we bring back up the MACD, let's see if we can find any similarities. I haven't actually looked at this MACD extensively. So let's just look in the meantime to see what we can see happening here. Yep. Well, here's another similarity, right? I didn't even notice this before the video. The similarities are just popping out in front of me. I'm not even joking. We've got, so around this period here, right, to the very end of the fractal, which is where we assume we are at now, right? The very end of the fractal before we blast, that's where we're assuming we are. We had almost a bearish MACD cross, but managed to divert it. What are we seeing right now, right? Almost a bearish MACD cross. If we jump above this green box and flip it, that will be a diversion, and then we can go to the sky, right? So not only is the price action matching, the MACD and the RSI is matching. If we look at the Bollinger Bands, let's see what we can see. Yep, another similarity, right? I'm literally just, this is all freestyle. I'm literally, this pattern is quite intense, right? This fractal is quite intense, and we'll get the fractal itself and apply it to the current price action to see what happens. But you know, we've jumped to the top layer of these Bollinger Bands. We've recently jumped to the top layer of these Bollinger Bands. The next move would be jumping above the green box and then zooming to the upside, like we've said multiple times. Let's see if we can see anything on the SMAs. Not really. All right, the SMAs. At some point, the similarities have to end, and that's fine. But yeah, so the point is, it's very similar. What we'll do now is we'll actually grab a fractal and apply it, and try our best to apply it to the current price action to see what we're working with here. It might be a bit hard to apply. But yeah, essentially something like that, right? If we don't want to move it, we don't want to move it too much. We don't want to like distort the range, but we can, right? So we can try and match it up a little bit better, I guess. So let's see what we've got here. We can try to do something like that, I suppose. And that, yeah, what this would be suggesting, and you can see it matches up quite perfectly, right? The price action is very similar. If you didn't get that from the start of the video, like it's very similar pattern, right? Drop down, move upwards, drop down, move upwards, and then a spike to the upside. That's what we're expecting. And that would suggest, and let's put that back where it was, that, you know, the dates aren't certain, so it's hard to be certain about when this would happen, but it would, you know, most likely be happening within the next week, you know, possibly 2 weeks, you know, we'll see how it goes. The thing with fractals is, you know, as I said, the dates aren't certain, so honestly it could be within the next 3 weeks. We don't really know, but what we can say is that it's going to happen soon, right? And soon's obviously subjective, but soon enough for this fractal to still match up with the previous fractal, right? So, you know, let's see how it plays out. One more thing that I've just noticed as well, just looking at this chart, is that we've also had, you could say this is a inverse head and shoulders pattern, right? You could say this is a inverse head and shoulders pattern, and what we're seeing right now is a pretty clear, a more clear inverse head and shoulders pattern. If we move to the upside, that's an inverse head and shoulders pattern there. So, you know, the structure is certainly similar, and I want to bring back the SMAs. I noticed when I looked at this before, all of the SMAs, all three of them were 100, 26, and 12, are compressing into a single price, little price range, right, between $5.16 and $5.32. When you see SMA compression, when you see all of the SMAs moving together, you usually see very sharp price action, you know, and in this case, that would be most likely to the upside very shortly, right? It's not very long that SMAs can all stay in one place, because the support and resistance zones that are, you know, provided by those SMAs get clamped together, and the price gets clamped. And when the price gets clamped, it's like holding a beach ball underneath the water, right? You know, when it inevitably comes up above the water, it jumps out, right? It jumps out of the water because it's been held down, it's been clamped down. And that's the same thing with charting and TA. When all of these SMAs are clamping together and the price action is going sideways, the next logical move is either a sharp move to the upside or a sharp move to the downside. And, you know, obviously based on the current state of the market, how Bitcoin's performing, and what we've just identified in terms of fractals, that move would most likely be to the upside. It's just, so, you know, to conclude with that, it's very likely we're going to see a move to the upside. As to when that will happen, that's the question. That's kind of hard to answer, but, you know, soon, right? Soon. Let's look at the weekly chart. And there is some things that I do remember talking about on the weekly chart that I do want to bring up again. Now, a lot of you would have watched my last video. I had my price prediction here around 55 USD. I'm still maintaining that price prediction, right? That's still my price prediction for Nano in this cycle. 55 USD. It could go higher, who knows? But 55 USD based on my prediction model is what I'm looking at for the most part here in Nano. And even if we wanted to be more conservative, right, we could take this price point here at 18. We could say that when Nano reached 18 USD, Bitcoin reached, roughly in the same period, around 64K. Assuming Bitcoin goes to 113K, which is my price prediction for the cycle, Bitcoin will just under 2x from its all-time high at 64K, or whatever it is now, right? But that's 64K in April, right? It's all-time high in April at 64K, just under 2x. Adjusting for the extra gains altcoins do, we'll add 50% to Nano, and we can assume that's going to be about 130% off the top of my head. And that will bring Nano to a price point of around 43 USD. So, and coincidentally, right, that's the pure coincidence there, that's literally exactly where its previous all-time high was, right? So, essentially what everything is telling me, including my new prediction model, is that it's going to go to its all-time high, most likely, unless something very drastic happens. Its all-time high seems very likely here on Nano, and I'm looking at 55 USD as my first target above the all-time high. And, the thing is, if it does go to its all-time high, if it does go to 43 USD, it's very likely it will go above that, right? It's not just going to stop at 43. We don't really see that in bull markets of altcoins, right? We don't really see Nano go up and then just getting, all right, sick, bear market now. That's not really how it works, right? If it goes to its all-time high, it's going to go into price discovery mode, and it's actually going to move faster than what it did before. That's why a lot of people would have a problem with my 55 USD price prediction, and they'd say that, well, if it breaks 43, it's probably going to go above 55. I completely agree with you, right? I completely agree with you, but that's just my prediction model. That's just what I work with, so I'm not going to change it. Well, first thing I want to say on the Bitcoin, on the weekly chart is, well, we got a bullish MACD cross incoming, right? And if we do see everything we just talked about on the daily chart, well, then that bullish MACD cross on the weekly chart is going to play out quite well, and that's going to be beautiful price action for Nano there. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And then the next thing I'd want to say is that, well, and we'll look at the log chart, because I do remember talking about this in the last video. And we can see that, well, it's actually quite similar, and here's another fractal, right? We have this period here from around June 2017 to the top here in January, right? And we have this kind of period here where we had a move downwards, a move upwards, a move downwards, a move upwards, and a break to the upside, right? We've seen a move downwards, move upwards, move downwards, move upwards, downwards, break to the upside. That's what we're expecting, at least. So I don't know if that's actually the same pattern. I think it's something like this. Move downwards, move upwards, move downwards, and break to the upside, right? That's what we will be expecting. Some sort of weird W formation. Look, it's obviously not perfect, and it's obviously on the weekly chart, on the log scale as logarithmic. So it's hard to say this fractal was certainly not as convincing as the last one. But the point is, we have performed to a certain extent very similar, right? This was in June. We saw this first peak here. We can label it out, right? We have this June. We had this here in May, right? So pretty close to June, right? So we can say it's quite similar. We bottomed out here in July, right? We bottomed out here in July, right? So that's similar. We topped out here at the start of September, late August. We topped out here in late August, start of September, right? So that's similar as well. We can put a 3 there and a 3 there. And then we've come back down in the start of Q4 in October, right? We came back down here in October. And then, the next logical move is to come up in the next few months and just make a massive move to the upside, right? And that's what we're expecting, right? Into January, a massive move to the upside. That's meant to be a 5. It's kind of hard to draw a 5 on TradingView. It just ends up looking like an S. But you get the memo, right? Even though it's not perfect, it's still following that similar structure. And this is what I mean. Cyclical theory at some point in a bull market becomes way more important than short-term price action, because with the cyclical theory, we can identify these macro trends, right? But with the short-term price action, if I'm looking here and there, if I open up the hourly chart right now in Nano, I could say 100 different things, and they'd probably mean nothing in 2 days, right? This is why when it gets to the parabolic phase of the bull market, which we are entering now, it's better to look at the longer term. And the Bitcoin pair is the last thing I want to bring up in Nano, right? Do I think it's going to reach its all-time high in the Bitcoin pair? No, I never do. I never think anything's going to reach its all-time high in the Bitcoin pair, simply because, well, let's look at the facts, right? The all-time high is, 30x away from current prices. And I understand, that Nano can move quickly on the Bitcoin pair as well. Look, we had 4 weeks here. We moved up basically 30x, all right? Basically 30x in 4 weeks, but The fact is the market's more spread out now. There's more altcoins everywhere. Less people are invested in one specific altcoin. It's more, as I said, it's more spread out to more places. So would I be expecting something similar? Yes. And when did this start to happen? December, right? Early December. So let's mark out early December. That's when I'd be expecting, the small uprise and then a sharp move to the upside. Where that will stop, that's where we need to be looking at on a closer basis. I think some potential targets would be around here at like 9,000 sats, possibly up to here at like 13,000 sats, right? Just off the top of my head, I think that could be potential. A lot of people look at that and say, well, that's too conservative. Well, that's just my opinion. And in the shorter term, what we're seeing is, well, we're coming down pretty close to our major support zone. We'll actually make this line smaller so you can see it better, and we'll zoom in. Major support zone here, or at least some sort of support zone that has held out multiple times, right? It held as resistance here in 2017. We held it as support throughout basically most of the bear market, right? And we're coming back down to it right now, and that's a period of around 800 sats, right? And you can see we've actually wicked down and started moving up off of it. So I don't think we're going to go below 800 sats in the short term. I think this might be the start of our slow uptrend, right? A slow uptrend, and then when it hits early December, that's when we start getting some spiky moves, like we saw over here, right? Some spiky moves. I think my opinion on Nano is pretty clear. I'm bullish on Nano. Right? I'm bullish on Nano. I hold Nano. I hold Digibyte as well. I hold Litecoin as well. Bitcoin Cash as well. I like these kind of coins. I just like them. They're all, you could say they're Dino coins. They've all got potential. They've all got tried and true communities. And that's the thing with payment coins. They always tend to have communities that really like the coin, really support the coin no matter what happens. And you want to see that, because when you have strong communities who are buying every single dip, well, it doesn't dip as much, right? It just doesn't dip as much. Bullish on Nano. The fractal speaks for itself, to be honest, on both the weekly and the daily chart. If you don't have Nano, well, what can I say? I have Nano. I recommend it. But, that's not financial advice. Obviously, do your own research. This is just my personal opinion on the market. And you guys can do with that whatever you want. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one.